the Menendez brothers are one step closer to freedom. I mean, that's a blast from the past in my case. That's crazy. And when I saw this, I'm like, these dudes are still alive. Anyway, here's a video to give you an idea of what's going on.
Controversial resentencing hearing for Erik and Lyle Menendez starts today. The brothers are serving a life sentence for the 1989 murders of their parents. KTLA's Annie Rose Ramos is in Van Nuys with the latest. Annie Rose, good morning.
Hi, Jess. Good morning to you. Yeah, this is a two-day resentencing hearing that begins this morning that could bring the brothers closer to their release, even as LA's district attorney says he believes they're not ready.
I don't think they should be resentenced right now. They've not come clean with all the lies that they've told for the last 30 years of their crime, and full insight into one's actions is a huge signal that you've been rehabilitated. And if you haven't been rehabilitated, you continue to constitute a risk of violence and danger to society. Now that's backed up by the new evidence. Now we have board-certified psychologists that are also agreeing.
The district attorney now pointing toward a state parole board comprehensive risk assessment. The board determining that each of the Menendez brothers constituted a moderate risk of violence to the public. The report citing actions by the brothers, including a January incident where Erik Menendez was allegedly found with a cell phone that was illegally brought into prison.
He violates the rules of the prison that he's at when he gets an illegal cell phone and works with another person inside and outside the facility to get that illegal cell phone. I mean, you would think that someone would be on their best behavior if they knew that a judge was going to consider their resentencing motion.
The standard for the judge on a presumption on DA initiated is, are they likely to commit a super strike? Last time I looked, cell phones in prison are not a super strike.
All right, in this case, a super strike would be a highly violent crime like murder. During this two-day hearing that's starting today, the judge will...
You know, like the original crime that they committed, murder.
Ultimately determine whether the brothers who were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole should receive a lesser sentence. Now, the big question is, will Erik and Lyle Menendez testify? We're told it isn't likely. Now, back here live, we're going to leave you with a live look from in front of the courthouse. Now, as we've seen in previous hearings, there are no cameras allowed inside, but there is a lottery where 16 seats will be given to members of the public, and they're giving out those lottery tickets starting out this hour as we speak. All right, reporting live. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
So this is quite interesting how this has come out of nowhere. So this Los Angeles judge has decided to reduce the sentence, which I don't know if I'm ever a huge fan of stuff like that. I feel like this is more of a result of the Netflix documentary. You know, those things come out. You had the issue, and this happens before. Remember if you can, there was the Free Britney documentary or whatever it was about Britney Spears. And then there was this push to have her father removed as the conservator of the relationship because he was so evil and blah, blah, blah. And then now she's running around half naked, you know, cutting up knives in front of cameras because nobody's watching her because we needed to free Britney. But I feel like a lot of these legal proceedings are taking place because of media and the impact of media on the court system. And it's like, no, the media is not supposed to have this much of an impact on the court system. It's not. It's just, it is what it is in that regard. But they have a hearing scheduled before the board on June 13th regarding the clemency petition. In May 2023, their attorney filed a petition for habeas corpus. Good thing they're not illegal immigrants, or else that would have gotten suspended. Seeking a new trial due to evidence of SA, which is abuse of an intimate nature. Trying to say it so I don't get kicked off of YouTube. Trial lawyer Ann Brimmer mentioned that the brothers will need to prepare to impress the parole board regarding their conduct since incarceration. I don't like, I mean, if you have the initial sentence of life without parole, guess what? Your attorney is terrible because it's terrible. The decision has been rendered. That's it. I'm not a big fan of the appeals process unless it can be demonstrated that there was something in the first trial that was either not filed correctly or there was some kind of procedural error. I'm a big fan of okay, you can have an appeal, you can have a retrial based on, or you can have it looked at based on some kind of stuff like that. Like, oh, all right, well, this wasn't filed properly, or this wasn't this, or blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But now it's like, oh, well, there's evidence of their past, which no, not that should have all been discovered back in the trial. That was the time for it. Not this, 20 years later, oh, by the way, type stuff. Oh, well, these guys have been really good in prison. I don't care. The justice system has rendered its verdict. Mark is correct. Their parents didn't get an appeal process. Their parents did not get an appeal process. And so I don't like them. I don't like appeals. Lyle and Erik Menendez, who have spent more than 3 decades in prison, were resentenced on Tuesday, moving one step closer to potential freedom after a day-long hearing. Los Angeles Superior Court Judge Michael Jisic reduced their sentence from life in prison without parole to 50 years to life. This makes them eligible for parole. Get out of here. Under California's youthful offender law, of course, because they committed these murders before they were 26. How is that youthful offender? 20, you're 20, you're an adult at 21. You're an adult at 21. Why is that even, a youthful, if it happened under the age of 26, they're 4 years away from essentially being middle-aged men, and you're still calling them youth. That's your first problem. That's your first problem. The way this is even being framed, the youthful offender law, you're not youthful at 26. You're almost an old man. You're close to Social Security. You're closer to Social Security, right? Most people, Mark, are adults by that point. They have jobs, or they used to have jobs, and they used to be married, and they used to pay bills and file their own taxes, and do all these other things. Under California, apparently, you might as well call. That's why I guess they call California Never Neverland, because you're just a youthful discretion at the age of 35, huh? The brothers were found guilty in 1996 of murdering their parents, Kitty and Jose Menendez, when Erik was 18 and Lyle was 21. They were full-fledged adults. No, not their dad was a monster, their mother was a pill popper. They were not in fear of their life at that moment when they, did what they did. Yeah, true. The brothers maintained that the killings were in self-defense, saying they had been abused by their father and feared for their lives. Well, they sure as hell spent the money that they got from that real quick. They sure had a plan for spending that money really quickly as soon as the murders took place. While there has been a small but vocal group of supporters defending the Menendez, the Netflix documentary and docudrama brought renewed attention and sympathy to the brothers' case last year because they framed them as victims. You know who couldn't participate in the Netflix documentary? Mr. and Mrs. Menendez, because they're dead. This reframing of everything. How everything has to be reframed. It's ridiculous. Their defense has also claimed there is new evidence bolstering their essay claims. In October 2024, then Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon recommended the brothers be resentenced, citing the complexity surrounding the essay, violence, and their continuous rehabilitative efforts during their incarceration. Don't care. You're supposed to be good in prison or you die. It's that simple. It's really that simple. So I don't really know what the problem is. But yes, that's that's what's going on here. I guess we have to keep our eye on it, but that's ridiculous. There's so much wrong with this. The Netflix documentary, the fact that they are going under this youthful criminal law or whatever the case may be, because they were under the age of 26, although the older one was 21, so he was skirting the line on that one. And this is just gross. It's gross, and I hate it, and I think it's terrible. They lost their trial. You have to suffer the consequences of the loss of trial. It's that simple. Maybe you shouldn't blown all the money you got on Knicks games. So there it is what it is.